Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. In front of me here is an iPad mini. It's an iPad mini first generation, and I believe it's running iOS 6. So let's get this thing opened up, see what kind of condition it's in, and find out if we have ourselves an iPad mini first gen running iOS 6. Before we do that, I'll put the amount that I paid for it right there on the screen so you guys know exactly how much this cost. And let's begin. Here's our iPad mini box. Obviously, this is a first gen mini, not just because it's written on there, but because we've got iOS 6. Flipping around to the back, you can see it's a 16 gig model, and of course it's white. We can tell that from the front. Let's get this box opened up here. And here is the iPad mini. Off first glance, it appears to be in pretty good condition. We'll take that out, and we do have documentation as well as what appears to be an original Apple Lightning cable and a 5-watt power adapter. So we're going to go ahead and set these things to the side. Let's test out our iPad mini and see if this thing has any charge. Oh, and it does. It's already on. Look at that. We've got iOS 6. Let me give this thing a little bit of a clean because you can see some hair up there, and this thing's just a little bit dirty overall. So after a cleaning of the device, we'll take a quick glance at that display. It appears to be flawless. I am not seeing any sort of scratches, certainly no cracks, and the rest of the device looks to be super clean as well. Camera looks nice up there. The buttons look good. I think all the corners are in perfect condition, and so is that metal bezel that's running around the outside of the device. And our lightning port down there looks to be super clean as well. So without any further ado, allow us to slide to unlock. And we're already in the settings app, which is perfect. That's where I wanted to be. Let's click on About and see which version of iOS. So this is 6.1.3. Of course, this is a 16 gig model. This is a white Wi-Fi only iPad. iCloud is not there, which is great news for us. Let me go ahead and connect the Wi-Fi because I want to test a couple things, including Siri, the App Store, and the iTunes Store. So while that connects, let's go ahead and turn Siri on. Just like that. We've got Siri. Let's see if it is working. What were the score of this week's college basketball games?
There are no men's college basketball games this week. I found 4 men's college basketball games from last weekend.
Okay, so Siri does appear to be working. We are getting some scores for college basketball here in the United States. Now, I want to turn up the brightness. That looks a little dark for you guys. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Next, let's try the App Store. As far as I know, this is not working on iOS 6. It seems like it kind of comes and goes. That's not working. Let's try iTunes, but I expect the same thing to happen. And the iTunes Store is not working either. Last, let's see if anything will load here on Safari. So we'll go ahead and type in Apple and see what results come up. And let's see, we'll do the Apple Store, apple.com. And it looks like it's going to load, but everything is in the wrong place. What if we check on the iPhone 15? Is that going to load any differently? And it looks like it is just kind of all over the place. You sort of get the gist of what's going on this website, but the pictures aren't loading and the text is everywhere. So really can't use Safari on this device. But let's talk about the iPad mini first gen. So this device launched in 2012 alongside the iPad 4th gen. They share the same Lightning connector, and the internals of the iPad mini first gen are almost identical to the iPad 2nd generation from 2011. So this device shares the same dual-core A5 processor. It shares the same screen resolution, and it also has the same iOS software support. The iPad mini first gen would launch with iOS 6 and get 7, 8, and 9. The iPad 2 would get iOS 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So a pretty capable device. Something that's different here on the first gen mini compared to the iPad 2nd gen are the cameras. We do actually have a 5 megapixel lens here. I believe it's the same one as you would find in the iPad 3rd gen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and record a video here. So I'm going to switch to that iPad, and as you guys can see, the resolution is bad. The audio probably sounds really bad. There's a look at the recording setup. We've got ourselves a trio of iPhone 5Cs down there. We do have tap to focus, so I can actually click in there, and maybe that helped a little bit. But I'd imagine that the resolution here is not very good, and I would also imagine that the audio quality is pretty bad. So let's go ahead and switch back here to the main camera. And once we're finished with that, I'll go ahead and import this into Final Cut Pro and click that into the video. But the front-facing camera, I believe, is the same 0.3 megapixel lens. Not 100% sure about that, but I believe it's the same lens as the iPad 2nd gen, iPad 3rd gen, iPhone 4, 4S, and yes. But the iPad mini 1st gen completely changed the design language of the iPads. Up until this point, they all were very rounded. They did not have a flat back like this, and they certainly did not have as thin bezels as this mini 1st gen has. So this kind of changed the form factor for iPads, and this is the direction they would go all the way up until the iPad Pro 3rd generation, 12.9 inch, and the 1st gen 11 inch. So we got, of course, the Lightning connector, and we got stereo speakers, which is something the iPad 4th gen didn't even have. So while the 4th gen was more powerful and had a Retina display, better cameras, etc., did not have these stereo speakers. So this was first for the iPad, and it was introduced here on the iPad mini. Now, you may also be aware that the 1st gen iPad mini does have Siri. We just tested that out. But I thought I just said that the 2nd gen iPad had the same processor and everything like that, but it doesn't have Siri. The reason for that is the microphone here up top on the iPad mini 1st gen. It's a higher quality mic, and for whatever reason, the microphone on the iPad 2 is just not good enough for Siri. So that's why this device has it, even though they share all of the same internals. Checking out the iOS 6 wallpapers, pretty standard stuff here. I do like this. Let's see how that looks here on our home screen. It looks decent. This would definitely look better if this was the black and slate iPad mini. The iPad mini 1st gen actually came in 3 different colors. So at launch, you could get this silver and white. You could also get a slate and black. Now that color was identical to the iPhone 5. I've got one here. It's a little bit dusty, but you can see the front is black and the back and the sides are this charcoal black or gray color. Very different than the space gray that we are used to. So the iPad mini had that same color. And then later on, they actually switched over to space gray. So you could buy this iPad in white, slate, and space gray. So 3 different colors. As far as I know, the only device to be offered in those 3 specific colors. So that's been a quick look at an iPad mini 1st gen running iOS 6 here in 2024, almost 12 years since this device's launch. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.